Hey everyone. So today I interview Alora Rachelle, who is a wedding photographer and business coach at the Wedding CEO. We had an amazing conversation, super fun, talked a lot about just the mindset of running your business and how to prepare yourself to be charging what you want to charge, to live that soft CEO life, and making sure that you have everything in place to build a business that really fits the definition of success for you. We talked about the importance of understanding your business, understanding where you're getting stuck. And one of the things that we talk about is understanding the cost of things. And I actually have a great resource for you guys. Is Learn to Price, free resource that I'm going to link it at the end of this episode that can help you really understand what does the cost of doing business look like for you. Again, to help you make sure that you're making right business decisions and not emotional decisions when it comes to building your brand, building your prices, and charging what you really want to charge. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. We had a lot of fun. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nada Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nada Salvatore, and today I have Alora Rachelle with me, which I'm very excited to talk to her. I've been waiting for an interview, and I can't wait for her to share a lot with you guys. She's a wedding photographer and founder of the Wedding CEO. Welcome, Alora.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and chat about all of the things today. I'm so excited.
Awesome. So let's tell them a little bit more about just where you are and what you do now. And then we're going to go into your whole story and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. I started out in the industry in 2011. I was playing around with photography. I was 21. I was in college, and it honestly happened all on accident. I was going to school to be a web designer because I just wanted to work from home and make money. So that was already instilled in me from the beginning. And then I took the studio photography class, and my teacher, Bill, kept pressing on me to become a wedding photographer. And I was like, nobody's going to pay more than like $200 for wedding photos. For me, this industry just seemed so like impossible. And I didn't know of like wedding photographers back then, other than like the really older uncle who had a camera, that whole deal. And so I created a website on Wix, and I just started posting my photos. And then people just started asking. They were like, hey, I see your pictures of trees and bridges. Do you do weddings? And I was like, I do. So that's,
Yeah, all the time.
yeah, I know.
I marry those trees all the time.
And it's so funny because like I had no shame. I was just like, these are the best tree photos in the world. The whole world needs to see them. So yeah. And then from there, I didn't really like, I booked weddings here and there, but I didn't take it serious until I got married to my husband in 2014. And then I decided full time to really devote to marketing and understanding how to book clients and make this a reality. So yeah, that's how I got started as a wedding photographer.
Did you have a wedding photographer for your wedding?
I did, yes. Actually, she specialized in documentary weddings, which was really great because that was what I wanted. But I've also noticed in my style, I kind of wanted two styles, which I'll probably talk about more in the interview, being like, I wanted the editorial, but I also wanted the unposed. And back then it was kind of like all or nothing. Either you got 100% posed or unposed. There was no like in between. And so, but yeah, I loved them, and pursued my career from there. I realized that it could be a thing. And I went to actually go visit my teacher, Bill, and he was like, told you.
He knew it. They know it. That's why they're teachers. So let's dive just a little bit more into your journey as a wedding photographer. Like, how long did you do that for? And then when did you decided to become maybe a little bit more of a business strategist and start teaching other photographers?
Yeah. So, I was kind of backtracking in the middle of my story to kind of really tell the story, but I was marketing. So after I went full time, I was marketing for 2 years with like no results. So like fast paced marketing is what we do now. But back then there was no reels. There was like Instagram was just kind of coming out with stories that they stole from Snapchat. And so we were all just trying to figure this out. So then while I was pregnant, I was marketing like crazy. And then the Metro Times picked up my Instagram profile, the Detroit Metro Times, and said I was the number one photographer to follow. So
Ooh.
SEO was kind of a big deal because that was kind of the main marketing like we had relied on anyway. And so yeah, I booked 17 weddings that month, and 3 days,
Wow.
2 or 3 days after I got home from the hospital. Yeah, with a newborn.
Crazy, crazy busy. Talking about crazy busy, huh?
Oh my
How
goodness.
was navigating that busy season for you after having a slow, result with the marketing, and then you became a very busy season and having a newborn on top of all of that?
Oh my gosh. So I went from literally booking every price shopper known to man and bartering and dealing with that. Like, so basically, I call it from 10K to 100K. I don't even know if I even made 10K. Let's just say 7K at best. And then that year that, the Metro Times published that article, I booked 17 weddings. I've already had a couple in the queue that have booked at a lower price. And I just kind of kept raising. They were booking my highest package, just let me know that I was very underpriced. But it was a whirlwind. Luckily, she was a newborn. She slept a lot. She slept a lot. So for me to be able to like say, hey, like it's gonna have to be a phone call. Like I just had a baby like last week. Like we could do the consultation on the phone. And so we would do that while she was sleeping. And yeah, it was a wild time. But it was surreal too. I'm thankful for it. I just wish I had more systems in place so I was ready for it. But that's a whole nother
Yeah,
conversation for another day.
right? Always nice looking back. What were some of the signs that indicated to you that, if you were burnout and underpricing your services, and how did you overcome that fear of kind of doubling your prices?
I love this question. Oh my gosh, the biggest indicator that you are underpriced is going to be that your profits are low, obviously. But like burned out and underpriced, I feel like that's a whole nother ball game. It's like you're overworked, you're booking more than 25 weddings a year, and you feel like all the time, like, where's the money? Like I'm booking all these weddings and like everything is eating up. Like whether it's the second shooter after like you're left over with like $500 to $1,000, and you're like, wait a minute, what did I like? I just shot a wedding and I just had all this money and now it's gone. And then you feel resentful. You feel like your clients have gotten a steal and you're driving to the wedding. And you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, why did I do this? Like, why did I say yes to this? It's not enough money. I have to pay this, that, and the other. And then, of course, when you're undercharging, you can't outsource. So that alone means that you can't clear up more time. If you outsourced your weddings, like if you decided to overcome all of the drama of like, oh my gosh, no one can edit better than me, you would free up at least 10 to 15 hours of editing, right? I've seen it
Yeah.
all and I've heard it all. So I'm like already addressing the common
Yeah.
thoughts. Um,
Get
yeah.
over yourself, right?
Oh my gosh. You'll never grow if you're always worried about how you feel about everything. Like you have to learn how to make business decisions. You have to learn how to act like, a CEO, which is originally like what I talk about from the high heavens.
Exactly. I think another thing to think about too that could indicate that you're underpricing yourself is if you're not hearing no. Like you're booking everybody that comes to you, they're saying yes, they're booking right away. You're probably too cheap. You're not charging enough. You should be hearing no at least a good 20 to 30% of the time, I feel like, to make sure that you're in a good price point. Because if you're booking everybody, you're too cheap.
Yeah. I feel like that kind of goes into like, that's the only way you're able to book 30 weddings a year. I'm like, that's too many. You're booking everybody. Like, you're obviously too cheap. They have a steal. They know that, like, oh, well, let's just book her. No big deal. Like, there's no hesitancy. So yeah, I agree. And the amount of yeses, if it's 100%, I think,
Yeah, nothing wrong.
yeah, you can raise your prices.
So let's talk about hiring a team. You talked about outsourcing a little bit. So hiring a team can be, kind of a very significant step to a solopreneur. What process did you follow to kind of build your team, and how did that contribute to booking higher packages for you?
I booked a lot, and then I was definitely on my way to burnout. And then 2018, right? So my grandmother passes away when I get off a plane from a wedding. So I'm having tacos with my husband, and the next morning, there's like a freak accident in the hospital, and she was like gone. And for me, I think it was such a shock because she wasn't sick and she wasn't old. Like my grandma was in her 60s still. So it was kind of like, what just happened? And so that took me for a spiral, and I was paralyzed by grief. I don't think I was, I mean, I guess you can't be prepared for it, right? For grief,
Right.
but I still tried to push through. I still tried to market on Instagram, and I still tried to edit weddings. And there would be days that I couldn't get out of bed. There would be days where I was crying so much I couldn't see straight. And I was like, what have I done? Like, my business is not thriving. My clients are so understanding. They're like, take all the time you need. We're so sorry. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm still going to get you these images. And like the inconsistency was crazy. So that was a wake up call for me that I needed to have systems. And then, after that, I was able to get kind of dip my foot into the possibility of building an associate team. There was like a little bit of buzz around that, like, yeah, you guys can book way more weddings. And, having a team is so fun. It's like a community. And so I tried it. Before the pandemic, I was able to, I had the same second shooters all year, the same two, and we worked all year together, and it was incredible. They understood my style. They pretty much acted like me in a way. And it was like the perfect fit. So they would do associate weddings for me. It was fun. Then the pandemic happened. One of my shooters, I think she like fled the country. And then the other one was like, yeah, like I think I'm going to take a break from weddings from now. And I was like, okay, cool. So just going to the beach and living my life in 2020 was actually all I wanted at that time. So then I made a plan a year after to rebuild the team because I wanted to triple my prices. I knew that I was already pregnant with my son by then, and I don't want to feel like how I felt when I was raising my daughter. So I was like, we got to like wrap this up and make some business decisions. So I wanted to hire a team. And so I hired a team of 3 girls, and I did the whole like hiring system. I hired 3 girls that I haven't worked with, but we did interviews, we did trainings. They worked with me all year, and it was fun. And they booked weddings. It was incredible. It was the perfect ploy for me to triple my prices. And so hiring both ways, I think there's pros and cons to both. I think my favorite one was actually hiring a consistent second shooter, though, because the chemistry was there and it was so much fun. And it just seemed like an easy transition. And it kind of felt like the next move. For the second one, I did like, the hiring process and understanding like how to hire people, how to do phone interviews and stuff. And it was so fun in that way. But also, I learned how to train a team. And I learned really a lot more about the CEO role than I had to with the first. So they both were fun and they were great. And then, however, though, booking my highest package because of that is separate. Like that has to do with sales psychology and positioning and, mastering the ability to talk about money. But yeah, that was what it was like building a team for me, both ways. And yeah, no regrets.
Are you still shooting weddings, or you're retired from that now?
No, I shot my last wedding last September. And it was so bittersweet. It's still kind of bittersweet, but I don't regret like what I'm doing now, the movement that I am doing now with my program, the wedding CEO, and then also just having my weekends.
Yeah.
It's surreal to me that I can just say yes to a weekend event and not have to check my calendar. Like that
Mhm.
blows my mind after 12 years, you know?
I love that. So what motivated you to shift from photography to mentoring, and how did you prepare for that transition? Because it's a whole new profession. So now you're going again into a whole new thing. Yes, you know the skill and you're good at the craft, but knowing how to teach and how to mentor other people is a very different thing.
Yeah, I actually did not initially have a plan, but the steps were all aligned. I had one of my friends, she called me when I announced that I was like retiring weddings, and she called me and she was crying and she was like, this is crazy and I'm so sad that you're leaving. She's like, but did you set up your business for this to happen? And I was like, no, I just love to teach. So that naturally comes to me. I was the kid in class that got in trouble for talking, that had to sit far away. Like that was me. I was always talking.
Right, right.
That's why I started a podcast. But my biggest thing was like I started mentoring in actually 2016. So the little wins that I was having, I was like, "Ooh, mentorship, hop on a call, let's chat and figure out, how you can build a website that converts inquiries and stuff." So I've been teaching that forever. Did I know this is what I was going to do? No. But I think 2020 everything came to like a severe halt. It was like, okay, I've never gone to the beach. I've never got to enjoy time with my daughter, and I had all basically like most of my weekends free, most weddings, rescheduled. They had to. And so when I realized the lifestyle that I wanted, I was like, I need to make this work. So for my children, for my marriage, I felt like me and my husband were always so busy and missing each other. And I was gone on the weekends. And that's usually when you spend time, with your family. And I was like, I also want to go on a vacation. And I don't want to have to think about answering bride emails or anything like that. So, you know, my motivation was time freedom. My motivation was just freedom anyway. So that happened. I taught a live masterclass in 2020 while I was pregnant and out of breath. Don't recommend, but they learned
I
something.
know, it's so hard to teach when you're pregnant. You're like,
Listen,
every 3 words, taking a deep breath.
literally I can't even use those trainings because I'm so out of breath, and I'm just thankful that those 30 students hung out with
Yeah.
me for 5 days straight. But after doing that and them getting like their little wins, I was like, I don't know, this might be the move. And so 2 years later, it took me forever to get my life together with juggling weddings, but I created the wedding CEO. And then two of my students made six figures in 6 months. And I was like, this is definitely the move. Yeah, we're just going to go all in. So the next year, that's when I announced I'm focusing on like my program full time. I have done weddings for 12 years. I've done all that I could do. The only thing I would probably do is like, raise my prices again. But, the monotony of weddings. And I knew that I really wanted to help photographers create like this soft CEO life without having to sacrifice their profits and their weekends. So, yeah, that was my shift there.
I love that. You mentioned teaching wedding photographers in 12 months, what took you 12 years to master. Can you just talk a little bit more about the key components of that mentoring program?
Yeah. So, I mean, it first started out as a marketing program because everyone's like, oh, I need to focus on marketing. Like, that's what photographers were telling me. And that could be true. And it still is true. But I've also noticed that the most help was needed on like money, pricing, and sales. And so that is like all encompassing. So like, yes, you do have marketing, but it's like, what do you do when you get the inquiries? They'll say, oh, my marketing's not working. I'm like, you're getting inquiries. They're just not booking. That's not marketing. That's sales. So like understanding the
Right.
problem and being able to kind of say, okay, this is what I need to work on. So we dive into having a CEO mindset and building confidence, not getting emotionally attached to everything because we are creatives and we're emotionally attached to our work. It's fine. We've all been there. When a client doesn't book, it doesn't mean that you're the worst person in the world. It just might not have been a
Right.
good fit. And then making a 100K plan, I think, is a big thing. It's like, oh, I want to make six figures, but they have no plan and they just like market crazy and burn out. It's like, no, we're going to have a strategic plan. We're going to decide, maybe how many weddings we want to book at what price point. Do we want to add more offerings? Do we want to try brands? Do we want to dive into, boudoir portraits and all those other things? So we come up with a plan for that. And then we dive into your price positioning. And then we dive into your packages. I usually tear them up on the call. I'll be like, all right, give me your pricing layout. Let's talk about this. Let's see why it's not working and how we can, set them up in a way where they book the package that you want, which is usually the highest package. And I have this thing where we talk about playing with pricing and just like that takes all the money drama out of it. It's like, okay, let's just play with it. If nobody books it, we can make tweaks to the package. We can make tweaks to this, just taking all the drama out. And then, yeah, after that, it's like all about attracting dream clients, whether it's your blog, your website, your Instagram, whatever you want to do. And then we dive into like mastering the sales call. So, yeah, that is the layout there.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people sometimes forget that you can make adjustments and make, some research, play with your pricing. You don't have to announce it every time you do something different. Nobody knows what you're doing. experiment. It's your business. You might take a couple steps back for a few months to see what happens. Okay, we're starting to get people again interested. They're booking. All right, let's increase a little bit again. You don't have to go on and tell the world that you're changing prices every few months. Like, it's okay to experiment with all of that. And like you said, detach yourself from that personally and treat it as a business. Like, you're researching, you're making business decisions, informed business decisions based on what you're seeing. And you don't have to be announcing that to the world all the time, right?
Oh my gosh, so true. I think we make things more complicated. Like and I think
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. Like, I didn't know that a lot of people, like, I've always thought of business in a very, like, non emotional way, like, even growing up. And so I think I kind of was always set for entrepreneurship. I didn't like working for other people. I always thought they were doing something wrong. And yeah, I just had a business brain. But like, I'm realizing that being able to not emotionally attach to like business decisions can be a strength and a superpower. And so, we definitely talk about that and teach people how to like rewire their brain to just being like it's not that serious you know and I think that if I could wear a shirt that said that, that's probably my approach to life, is it's just not that serious.
I love that. Hey there, are you a creative professional looking to elevate your business and artistic vision? Discover the transformative power of personalized coaching tailored specifically for creatives like you. During the sessions, I dive into the unique challenges and goals for your specific business, especially as a creative entrepreneur. That's very important because what you do, it is special and it is different than everybody else. You're going to break through some mental barriers and cultivate a mindset that really nurtures the creativity and resilience of your business. We're going to enable you to thrive in both your personal and professional life. That is my goal for you. If you're ready to embark in an amazing journey of one-on-one coaching with me, hop over to accidentalceo.co and let's get you to be the CEO that you're meant to be. So you skyrocketed from 10K to 100K in just a couple of years. What are some of the pivotal marketing and sales strategies that contribute to your growth?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, it was a different time in 2017 when it came to marketing
Mhm.
trends. I can't say like there was no Reels, there was no TikTok, I don't even know Pinterest. Pinterest was making its wave, but like it was just a different time. So, for me, like I was just kind of posting. I was geotagging. It was just Instagram marketing. It was Instagram and posting all the time, making sure that my best of images were seen, the images that I wanted to do again. So I'm not sure if that method is like worth mentioning, but I will say something I think is still a timeless strategy in this time, which has been, I want to say, almost a decade, is building a personal brand. I know this might be the hype. I've seen it on threads, I've seen it on Instagram, and I've kind of like, I've taught this years ago too, but having a personal brand it's just opened doors for both the B2C and the B2B level. So like I am, working with B2B now, which is photographers, but even with clients, they value a personal brand as well. And when I think about the clients that were booking me and they would say why they booked me when we chatted on the phone, they say, I felt like I knew you. I would watch your stories every day and saw what you and your daughter were doing. She's so funny. Makes me so excited to have kids, and just like, it was just interesting because it had nothing to do with weddings, but they just felt like they knew me and they were like, yeah, we need to have her. There's nobody else like her. I mean, maybe there was, I don't know. And so I think knowing your brand story, creating your own unique brand pillars versus copying what somebody else is doing, that is a timeless
Mhm.
strategy. And so I think it's going to work forever. Honestly, if you think about the brands that you buy from, they stand for something. There's a reason why you buy from this brand. It's not just the way that it looks, but there's got to be some kind of movement that they're behind. And I mean, unless you're just a person who buys for the brand, but I need to know the ingredients. I mean, are they, I like to say all the time, are they locally sourced? Stuff like that. I think that's a strategy that all businesses and especially photographers probably should start leaning on. And I think it's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, people 100% buy from people that they know And even if they don't directly know you, if they're seeing you all the time, if they understand what you're all about, they feel like they know you. So they'll be a lot more comfortable when they have to put down a large sum of money on those high ticket price, services that you're selling, if they feel more comfortable with you and they feel like they know you. So basically, post your best 3 pictures and build a strong personal brand.
Yes, your bridges. I think I even had like water drops like at the macro lens. I was living my
Oh, look
best
at that.
life.
Don't we all? Don't we all? The times where you didn't have to pose your clients, right?
Oh my gosh, that was like back when the Instagram filters were still popular, where we had like that red filter that made you look. Yeah, it was all the retro vibes.
Wild times, wild times. So a lot of photographers struggle with that concept of soft CEO that you mentioned earlier. How do you define that, and what steps can people take to achieve that without sacrificing their weekends?
Oh my gosh. I feel like the was it the TikTok sound where it's like, "Oh my goodness, I love this question." I
I was telling somebody the other day, I'm gonna make it a drinking game. Everybody, every time one of my guests said, "This is a great question," or "I love this question," we're gonna drink.
I love these questions. I do. Okay, so the term a soft CEO life is my way of saying that you can have it all. A lot of people say that when you are successful in your business, that your family life is a mess. Or if your family's perfect, your job's going to suffer. And I just don't think that's true. As a mother who has built, like a two-faceted business with 2 children, or pregnant, with one of them or both of them, actually, it's definitely possible. So the soft CEO life for me, it kind of means that you can have a peaceful, profitable business. You can have time with your loved ones or go on vacation because Lord knows we all need it. And you can have healthy boundaries for both your life and business so that you're not constantly flying by the seat of your pants. What I've kind of realized after coaching photographers for like the past 2 years inside of the Wedding CEO, but the past 8 years of like one-on-one mentorships is that our thoughts on money determines how much we're going to make and what we're going to do with it. So this is like one
Amen.
of the main it's like one of the main concepts that that a lot of people don't really dive into, and nobody wants to talk about money. So I like to release all that drama, and I like to focus on that, like to kind of poke the bear, if you will. And in order to like create this 100K plan, whatever that entails, you have to figure out how you're going to make that money, whether you're going to be adding something new and selling that deals with money, whether you're raising your prices, also money, or playing with your pricing, raising it and lowering it, which is a lot of people do when they're nervous. But if you can do that, if you can learn how to make money in general, like you can absolutely for sure make 100K with half your weekends free. Or, in terms of like the soft CEO life, is like, I believe that when it comes to like raising your prices, you can free up something. Like, I don't know if it's like that pay to play, but like you're going to be able to afford to outsource. You're going to be able to afford to build some systems, maybe have a workflow in place that sends your clients this amazing experience that has them referring you forever, all of those things. But it starts with knowing like I can actually have a peaceful, profitable business. There doesn't have to be drama. I can raise my prices. I can talk about money. I can sell. If you can do that, you can do anything.
I love that. I think we're very similar. No drama, love money. Let's make it happen. I like that. So you've been featured in some very prestigious publications like Elle and The Knot, and that's amazing, very impressive. What are some advice that you can give to photographers that are aiming to get their work published? And do you think that's important to have a successful business?
I don't think you have to be featured to have a successful business, because I feel like when I was booking the most weddings, I didn't really have any other badge than like the knot or maybe one other one. But I'm also going to explain that I was approached and featured for these badges and platforms just in case people were asking me on my last masterclass, like, did you pay for PR? Did you have a manager? I'm like, no, I didn't know that was a thing, or I would have done that sooner. Like, you can pay to be featured. So yeah, I think for me to be featured, it could have been my style of photography, which was on the trending rise, I think way before the editorial niche has exploded like it has. So, like I mentioned earlier, you kind of had to pick one of the styles, right? Editorial, what do they call it? Light and airy, dark and moody, or documentary, one of those. And I kind of wanted everything. So I just did that. And I didn't see anybody really doing it. There was very rare that somebody captured like model-esque, celebrity Vogue poses, but also documentary moments mixed together. It was kind of like one or the other. It's like, oh, well, I don't like to pose clients, so I don't. So I just merged those two styles together, and I didn't know it, but I had a couple of publishers or publication editors. They were following me on Instagram. And so without me knowing, and I became friends, with an editor that published for Metro Detroit weddings. And anytime I posted the sneak peeks of a wedding, she would DM me like, I want this, send it to me like immediately. So that was fun. But if I could give advice for somebody that's wanting to feature their work, even like with Vogue and brides, it seems like publishers just want something different and something unique and tailored to the couple. If you can do that, I think your images should be ready for publication. Oh, and of course, celebrities. They love them some celebrities. So,
Right.
so for the L badge, I captured Congresswoman Haley Stevens' wedding, and one of the editors from L was in the audience, but nobody had any clue who they were. Like they even announced it, like, "Hey, somebody from L is here. Whoever you are, like enjoy the wedding." It was super fun. But my advice to that would be, if you're thinking about this and you're like, man, I really want to get featured, it's like, well, just focus on your clients now and how can you capture their story in a way that's not copying your competitors? How can you tell your client's story in the best way that you were hired to do? And never stop submitting your work. You never know if it'll get picked up, or if somebody's watching you and they're following you on Instagram and they just so happen to be an editor. So,
There you go.
yeah.
What what was your highest package at the time that you stopped shooting weddings?
Yeah, my highest package was 13,500.
Awesome. So raising rates is very often a challenge for creatives. Again, I think that emotional piece plays in that a lot. Can you talk a little bit more about your approach to valuing your work and communicating that value to attract that ideal client that would be paying the high ticket price?
Yeah. So when I was going through the process of wanting to rebrand my business, I knew for me to get over my nervousness of tripling my prices, because that's crazy. Who does that? No, nobody. I needed to really clean up my brand. And so I basically went through my own homework of what I teach in my program. And I was just like, okay, like what kind of client you want to serve? Like, what do you want your brand to look like, feel like? What kind of client do you want to attract? And basically, I put all of that into my designer and was like, can you create this? This is what I want. And so, I mean, after doing the rebrand, it was like a no-brainer. I did not lose inquiries. If anything, I got more inquiries. And that actually helped me keep raising my prices because I was playing with my prices anyway. I was like, all right, we got to rebrand. I know where I want to be and I know where I am now. So let's just play and figure it out. And so, yeah, it worked. And I mean, in terms of communicating that value, your website. I think your website is a long term marketing strategy that will serve you forever. And as somebody who was studying web design, like I'm a little bit of a freak about the way websites look, how they convert, how you direct your client to the sale, like all that strategy stuff. Like I do feedback reviews for websites and I tear them up. I'm like, we're starting from scratch, burn it to the ground, add this, add that, take this away, because you can actually control the journey of your clients on your website. Instagram, you can't control. You can't control TikTok. You can't control them, searching other competitors and making a decision. But the website, once you're on the website, you determine the client journey. So communicating the value would just be the way you set up your website, the way that you're talking about how you can serve them instead of like what closet you found your camera in and talking about you the whole time. It's like, talk about them. Like, we get it. You're great. And we're so excited for you to be a photographer and that you love what you do. But ultimately, you need to serve the client because that is why they're going to hire you. So, yeah, I would talk about websites.
Perfect. I love that. Do you think that so for somebody that is hoping to be more consistent on booking their higher package out there, What would you say would be maybe the top 2 or 3 things that they should focus on?
If they want to raise their prices. Okay, well, let's figure out what the problem is. Like I mentioned kind of briefly and quickly. Sorry if I talk too fast, by the way. I just have so many things.
No, you're fine.
But I would say the first thing is to determine the problem. Are you getting a lot of inquiries, but none of them are booking? Or are you not getting clients inquiring or booking? Or they are booking, but you don't have enough inquiries. So like figuring that part out, whether it's looking at your CRM and kind of seeing like the amount you have booked versus like the amount of inquiries you've had this year, figuring out your conversion rate. Like, is it at least 50%? Is it, are you serving them on these calls? Are they coming from places that you want more clients from? Is it price shoppers? Like if they're price shoppers, where are they coming from? So let's look at your marketing in terms of like your CRM. So go on Honeybook or Dubsado or wherever your clients are finding you. I don't know if there's like 17 hats or something else, but figure out your top 3 places that your inquiries are coming from and then deciding whether or not you want to keep focusing on marketing to those referral platforms. And so we teach a 3-part marketing system of short term, long term, and collabs. And so you need inquiries to be making money from all of these at least 3 different platforms, one of each. So yeah. And then, because you need inquiries to make money. Like while I do talk about sales, like the inquiries need to be coming in. So let's look at the marketing first and then talk about sales after. And then we can decide how you need to position your pricing so that clients are booking the package that you want them to book.
So I've been asking this to a lot of our guests because on the process of coming from an accidental CEO position into becoming a very strategic business CEO, there's a lot of failure that happens and a lot of learning. What was maybe a big failure that became a big lesson learned for you?
Just one? Ugh, this should have been in the
Pick your
notes.
favorite. Pick your favorite.
My favorite failure. Man, I don't know. I feel like for me, growing too fast it was a blessing and a curse. I kind of wished I grew slowly because my mental health was trash. Like I didn't have and I also did not have any time with my friends or my family, and everything was about my business. My peers in the industry were great, but it wasn't fulfilling for me. But I would say, like, not having systems too, like just not prioritizing my time. I think I let a lot of time slip by, and I didn't realize how important time was really until my grandmother passed. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, there's no undo button here. Like every second that goes by, I'm never getting back, and I need to make the most of that. Like time is my currency, not necessarily money. Like money is great. We need it for things. But that is my priority now because of that failure of just doing whatever and not making executive decisions and just flying by the seat of my pants. So, yeah, I guess I would say that is just not valuing time. And now that I'm in my 30s and I'm a mom, and my daughter is now 7, my son is 3, all I can think about is like cheating time. How can I get more time? How can I make more time or make the most of this time? And so, yeah, if I could tell anybody anything, especially if you're a mom who is a business owner, like, you know, treasure the people that you love the most in your life and just make the most of that time.
I love that. What is the one message you want to leave for our audience today? If they want to remember one thing from this entire talk today, what would be the thing they want them to take home?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. These are such good questions. um,
Drinking time.
no, seriously. I'm literally blown away. I just, if I could pick one thing is like start working on your thoughts maybe about money, your thoughts about pricing and your capability. So much self-doubt is in entrepreneurship. I mean, and I've talked about this like, in the past, but like, we're so afraid of being an imposter. We're so afraid of making a mistake and just fearing the fear because we don't really know what we're afraid of. But like I remember one of Seth Godin's quotes was saying that like to be an imposter, is a good thing. It means that you are doing something that you've never done before. And that's actually brave. And it's a step into the right direction. It's leadership. So lean into the imposter syndrome, and you never know like what's going to happen. And I never in a million years would have thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to build a 2-faceted business with 2 kids. Like, I just wanted to be a web designer. I wouldn't trade it for the world though. It's worth it. Do the thing.
Beautiful. And here you are being a boss. I love it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for spending the time with me today. I'm sure we got a lot of great things from the conversation. I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us and being vulnerable and open and helping people get unstuck. Appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
Perfect. Tell everybody where they can find you if they want to learn more from you and follow your journey out there.
Sure. My Instagram is at Alora Rachelle, or Alora.Rachelle. And then I'm also hosting a free live masterclass May 16th. So you can sign up alorarachelle.com/wedding CEO. And I look forward to being able to help you make 100K with half your weekends free. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being with us for another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast, and I will see you next week. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nada Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.